Hey guys, I decided I'm going to do a quick capture and make it quick because I do have some stuff left to do around the house. But I want to talk today about doctors. Not doctors in general, but doctors that seem to just not get it. And, you know, we've all had our fair share, us intersex folk. And I want to say that it really burns me up when I hear more and more stories as the years go by. And I can't expect change unless we start making our voices heard. So some of the doctors that I've had weird or bad or negative or less than good experiences with include endocrinologists, pediatric endocrinologists, GPs, you know, internists, regular medical doctors, just doctors that are there to give you a checkup and make sure you're not sick. And then also gynecologists. I'm going to tell you an example of two doctors. The first would be the endocrinologist that I saw when I was 27. No names. It's not important. He was in New York, and I went to him upon the recommendation of my current internist, who will also remain nameless. And I was having such a good experience as part of this particular office of doctors, this particular complex, that when she recommended this guy to me, I said, you know, I feel good about this. I feel like this is a good idea. Well, it turned out he was very standoffish. And I've mentioned him in videos in the past, but it goes beyond that. I mean, I want to imagine people complexly, and I want to imagine that maybe he never thought he was going to deal with someone like me, but there was a huge disconnect between us. He made me feel so uncomfortable in a way that made it seem like he did not want to help me. It really did feel like he was passing the buck when he suggested, you know, here's someone you should visit. Now, in the end, that person was someone I should visit because he has helped me, the person that person recommended. But, you know, my negative experiences, of course, didn't start or end there, including the pediatric endocrinologist that I saw when I was younger. They just sort of didn't know how to handle my situation either. And it kind of drove me nuts, but I had a gynecologist last year, and I was on my state's version of the Medicaid program, and I was so lucky to have had the coverage that I had, especially because I wasn't working full-time at the time. And things went so well, and I learned so much, and I got so much coverage and so much done. You know, I had my teeth fixed, I had regular gynecology appointments, I was getting all the care I needed. But, you know, when I started seeing this gynecologist, she was so nice and kind, and she really understood my situation, and she was interested. But, you know, she was kind of an in one ear and out the other kind of a person. I stopped seeing her because I lost my insurance due to getting a job and them stopping the coverage. Because once you hit a certain level of income on Medicaid, you no longer qualify if you're above the poverty line. Long story short, which, you know, I love to say, I wasn't that far above the poverty line, so I did appeal it, and I did try to get them to give it back to me, but I ended up getting insurance from my then employer anyway, so it worked out for the best, and that's fine. But the situation sort of took a turn when I decided to tell the doctor, you know, I need to have this surgery. After I discovered I had a uterus, I said, you know, I need to have, you know, laparoscopy. I need to get this done. First, I need to see an endocrinologist. And she agreed. But then I lost the insurance. She called and said, you know, this is a serious situation. You need to go see an endocrinologist immediately, as soon as possible. And I spoke to her, stay with me. And I said, I can't go see an endocrinologist right now because I don't have insurance. And she said, you know, I can make suggestions, you know, someone who might be able to give you a discount. And I said, I understand what you're trying to do, but I want to get the insurance back. This is what I was trying to appeal, the decision to take me off the insurance. And she said she understood. And then, you know, she and I ended it. She repeatedly continued to call me to tell me to see an endocrinologist. I kept telling her I don't have insurance right now. No matter who I go to, it's going to be not something I can afford. Endocrinologists are specialists. They cost more than regular doctors, if you didn't already know this. And I guess the message wasn't getting through to her, but she kept calling. And on the one hand, you could think to yourself, oh, she really cared about you. She really wanted you to get care. And you're absolutely right. I don't deny that. But when you tell someone, until I have insurance, I can't afford to do something, it's not a medical emergency. I don't need to get this in, you know. She seemed to think that I was going to die if I didn't see an endocrinologist. And that's not the case. Yes, I needed to have a surgery eventually, but it wasn't a life-saving surgery. It was a surgery to investigate possible stringy tissue, which we ended up doing. But at that point, it had already been on my mind for about 16 years. Come to think of it, remember, we didn't even know that I had that tissue. Remember, at one point they said that I had no tissue. So she kept calling and calling. She called me at work once while I was on my break. And I remember screaming on the phone to her, like, I need to explain to you, over loudness, not screaming because I was upset. I need to explain to you that I cannot see this specialist. It doesn't matter how many specialists you suggest to me until I have my insurance back. This is over a period of 2 months. I can't go see this doctor. She also sent me certified letters in the mail. I mean, this got to a level of, like, stalking. And maybe, I don't know, maybe her concern ran too deep. I don't understand it. She sent me certified letters in the mail. When I would not be there to receive the letter, I would get a, you know, you missed us package, you know, slip on my door. Oh, we were there. We tried to deliver something to you. You weren't there. So I would frantically, thinking it was about the insurance appeal, I would frantically go to the post office, only to find another certified letter. It was about 5 of them before what I'm about to get to. And it was just so frustrating because at this point I'm trying to get the insurance back so that I can do what she wants me to do. And I got a message from her, the final letter, towards the end of last September. And it was like a breakup letter, like a Dear John letter, if you know what that is. Sometimes between a patient and a caregiver, there's a disconnect. This is almost paraphrasing, but it's almost a direct quote. You know, sometimes the relationship between a patient and a caregiver reaches an impasse or comes to a head, and it needs to be separated. You know, if you need any recommendations, please contact us. But as of X date, you know, this partnership or this whatever is concluded. And I was just so furious about that. You know, it's not that I don't want the help. And I communicated this to her and to her assistants and people that would call frequently. And I get that. But she seemed to think it was a medical emergency, and I needed to be called several times a week, weekly letters in the mail. Anyway, I don't want to get stuck on this one doctor. It was just a really weird experience. Now, I have some really great doctors. You know, I don't need to name names. If you're interested in who my doctors are, you can message me on YouTube, or I can, you know, talk to you over Twitter DMs or whatever. All my information's in the down bar. But I have these great doctors, and I'm so fortunate that not only was I part of a clinical study for exome sequencing back in November, but I was also interested in doing it domestically, doing it here where I live, not in the Bronx where that clinical study was. And I have such a great team at my genetic counselor's office that her team called as many labs as they could to find a lab that would do my exome sequencing and have it covered by my insurance. And I was just so floored by that. At the time that I found out that they found a lab, like first I was denied the test because, oh, it's an experimental test. We're not going to do it. It's genetic testing. You're not covered for genetic testing. Based on applying to a lab in California that was recommended to me. But I actually have this team and this one particular doctor's assistant. I don't know what her title is, and I'm so sorry. She's like I don't want to say like a clinical assistant or like an assistant or like she's not a med student. She works in the office. But she called all of these labs and found one who could do this exome sequencing for me. Exome sequencing is where they sequence the, I want to say the outer part of the genome, the exome. Don't hold me to that. That might not be correct. And it's an expensive test. I mean, the least expensive version, which is the version that I'm being covered for, is $9,000. It's a lot of money. But that test was taken. I found out that I was getting the test while I was in the hospital for my pelvis, which, by the way, I'm healing very, very nicely. And we had the blood drawn the following week, and it's been about 2.5 months, so they were about right. I would say maybe 10 weeks. It's been 9 weeks minimum, but it's been like sort of forgot about it. It's not like I'm sitting by the phone waiting for a phone call. And then I got the phone call today that the results are in. Unfortunately, the first available appointment is Tuesday. And that is the day after my mom's surgery. She'll probably still be in the hospital. It is open heart surgery. But I am going to try to film as much as I can the lead up and the results. And I know they won't let me record in the office for obvious reasons, and I'm not going to ask. But I will record before I go in. I will record after I go in. I will try to take notes so I can read about it. But this is one thing where they've taken a blood sample and done a genetic test to theoretically explain that I have Swires, or the cause of my Swires, or the genetic component to why I am intersex and why I have 46XY gonadal dysgenesis, which, again, can be a bunch of different conditions. That's not a condition in and of itself. It's like an umbrella within an umbrella, which makes no sense. If it was a tree, it would be a branch under a bigger branch. I'm looking at a tree right now outside, which is why I used that metaphor. But I'm really excited, and it's something to look forward to, even if I might not like what I hear. But it's something to look forward to in the midst of all of the craziness surrounding this surgery and all the prep. We've totally torn the house apart. We've done all the things that we've put off doing for months and months so that my mom will have a clean apartment and a home when she comes out of the hospital and rehab and whatever. But it's just been insane, and I haven't got a lot of sleep. I've been working 2 jobs, and basically a third. I mean, cleaning the house is the third, pretty much, when I'm not cat sitting. And I'm just so overwhelmed, and I can't wait for it to be Tuesday, just so I know that my mom's okay, and that she's healing, and that she's recovering. But yeah, that was a little bit of an off-topic comment. This video has gone way too long. But I wanted to talk about doctors because there's clearly good doctors and bad doctors. I don't mean bad as in bad like they're doing bad things. I mean bad as in they don't know how to work with people like us. They don't know how to make it so that they're providing the best care. And the best way for them to provide better care is to learn and go to the CME at AISDSD conference, go to different sort of continuing medical education conferences about, different intersex conditions. I mean, the CME at AISDSD is clearly the best of the best for learning about conditions that relate to my situation. But there's got to be more. There's got to be more than that. And there's got to be genetic conventions and conferences where you're learning more and more and more. I just can't imagine that there are doctors out there that are still performing intersex surgeries and still thinking that we're hermaphrodites. It doesn't sit well with me, and I just don't understand how that can still be a thing in this day and age. And it's certainly not the experience I've had, but it's definitely the experience that some of my friends and Orchid sisters have had. That said, I wish you a lovely weekend. I'm going to upload this tomorrow because today is Wednesday. And I'm just so grateful that I have these results, and they have a result. Like, it wasn't like a false, result or something like that, because they warned us with saliva we might not get a result, so we did blood. I'm just very grateful that things can progress the way they've progressed, and I'll have some answers. I feel like I can exhale. It's been over a year that I've been looking for these answers, since February of last year. I mean, first we found out I had a uterus, then we found out I had Swires, then I found a community, and potentially even more answers, and now I'm going to have a definitive, legitimate answer medically. So yeah, hopefully if I don't put that video out next week, because I might be a little overwhelmed, I'll put it out the following week. But I'm going to film. I'm going to film like crazy, as much as I can. Maybe I'll do like a video diary thing, like every, Monday morning I'll do something, and then Tuesday morning I'll do something, and then how I feel the next day maybe, and then I'll put it all together. Who knows? I don't know. That's just an idea. This video's gone on way too long. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your comments. And this is a big deal. So, take care, and I will see you next week, or possibly the week after.